Hello and welcome to Sound and Melodies. In this episode, I'm going to show you a Pro Tools template for production sound, and you can download this. I'll give the link below in the description. So let's check out what we have. If you open this template, you can see this is a complete template or complete package for sound design or audio production for any kind of video that you're working with. This works both with 5.1 and stereo. So let's go from here. The first track that we have is RX Monitor in 5.1, and if you check here, we have RX Monitor 8 and 9, and whichever version you have, you can just click here and add your RX Monitor from search, and if you do monitor, you can just add your version. So if you want to add, just add 5.1, and RX Monitor is in 5.1 here because whenever we have different kinds of production sounds depending on the recorder, it might have multiple channels or multiple microphone inputs for each take, and in that case, whenever we want to find out a particular take and some dialogues or some sound effects from particular take, you can just open it in RX version standalone and look at that file, and when you are playing that file while Pro Tools is open, then RX Monitor track from here and the input here will allow you to play back the sound, and you will start hearing the sound in all of your speakers. If it's 5.1, it starts playing in the whole speaker, all the 5 speakers, and it will be easier for you to work, find the sound, save as, and then finally import into Pro Tools. So that's why we have here 5.1. So I'll just minimize this track. After that, there is a master, submaster, and submaster stereo. Now I'd like to keep masters and VCA and audio reel or video in the top of the project. It allows me to properly take a look at the project. Whenever I open, on the top there is the master tracks and everything, and below we have the actual production track. So the master is here, and if you have a version of WLM Meter, it will open from here. Now for now, every inserts is bypassed and made inactive, and if you have a WLM Meter, you can just open it from here. If not, you can just remove and insert whatever plugin you have for loudness monitoring. And the third track we have is Submaster 5.1, and another track we have is Submaster Stereo. Now this is because you can work in a surround file, or you can work in a stereo file. Whichever project you are working with, it's easier to import just the file and start working with this template. And the reason we have here 2 Submaster is the first 5.1 and the second stereo. Whenever you want to go from 5.1 to stereo, you can just mute the 5.1 and unmute the stereo, and whenever you want to go to 5.1, just mute the stereo and unmute the 5.1. And in this stereo Submaster, we have something here called Downmixer. It's an inbuilt plugin in Pro Tools, and this 5.1 to stereo with LFE muted is currently selected, and I have it unmute for the LFE, but you can still mute it and use it as a down mixer for your surround project. But of course, if you're just using the stereo project, just mute this and unmute this and it will work just fine. And you can see channel strip here, insert, but if you open, nothing is done. It's just clean factory default map, which means no settings are changed. It will be clean passes of signal without any change. But if you want to change something, you can of course change around here. I will now make it bypass and make inactive. Also make the down mixer inactive. And the second plugin I have put here is Maxim. Here also the same, the factory default map is loaded and nothing is changed, and if you want to change something you can just move around here and make changes according to your need. Now I'll just go ahead and make it inactive. After that I have put VCA folder, which is linked with the groups here, and all the groups are coming from the audio tracks available throughout the project. So it's properly mapped, and you can just use your VCA folder after you have all your tracks there, and when you are in the process of mixing you might find it pretty useful to have VCAs. So the VCA is there. After that there is reel video. We can add more reel videos according to what you might be working on, but for now there is one reel video and one reel audio. Whenever you import a video into the project, it will ask you if you want to import the audio from the video, and if you select that option you can simply it will create a new track for that, but then you can move it to reel audio and it will be just fine. And here is reel beep, and if your editor, or if you are the editor yourself, if you have put a beep for the synchronization purposes, here you can add the beep in your track. And one thing to notice here is it's set in the center of the 5.1 surround channel, and this is because whenever in a syncing process, if you have some of the speakers closed or not turned on or anything, then still remaining speakers will give you that beep sound, and that's why it's kept in the center of the room or center of the surround channel. Next let's go to dialogue, and you can see we have dialogues, ambience, Foley, sound effects, sound design, and print folder. And we need a music folder, which is right here. I will just put it there. So we now have all the stems necessary. So let's go ahead with the dialogues folder. If you open the dialogue folder, you have lav 1, boom 1 and stereo all set. You just have to import your file here and start working. And if you want multiple mono tracks for the dialogue folder, which you might need, you just duplicate and you'll have as many you want. And here's stereo. Sometimes the camera or the stereo microphone takes the dialogue, then you can just import it to the stereo track here. And as you can see, the same, here's channel strip with no configurations. It's all set at factory default, so you can make any changes you want and then have it your way. And the next thing we can find here is de-esser, and it is applied in the second input after channel strip. But you can, if you need, you can just move the de-esser first and then keep the channel strip second. This is how I like to work with, so it depends upon the preferences of your work, of course, but still the de-esser plugin is put there. And if you see, the whole track is sent to DX bus, which is right over here, and from the DX bus it goes to Submaster, and from Submaster goes to master. So again, you can use stereo or surround here. And if you want to put any send, I have set up a mono reverb and stereo reverb, and stereo for the surround for the rear speakers, and surround or 5.1 reverb here. You just have to go here and add whichever reverb you want to add. If you want to add a mono, send to mono, then you just click here and you'll have your mono sent right here available. And all of these is not put there because it again depends on your work and what you want to put it there. And if you want to have more sends, different kind of sends. For example, delay is not here. You can just go ahead and click here and add a new track in any format you want, mono, stereo, surround, and rename it to DX delay stereo, for example, and add a track which will create a new delay stereo here, and simply move it down here and you'll have a range of auxiliary aux tracks here. For now I'm going to just remove the delay stereo that is here, that we don't need for this purpose. But like this, you can just go on adding as many aux tracks you want for your effects. And you can see here the mono is in the center channel and the stereo is in the left and the right, and left surround and right surround is here, and the surround itself is surround, so we don't need to change anything for here. And if you are working with stereo and keep it in stereo, then whatever you put here will still come from your stereo speakers. And if you're working in stereo, of course you might not need this 5.1, and you can remove it from your project, but of course it's good to have there as a purpose of this template. So the routing is similar to every stem here. If you check the ambience, there is a mono ambience that you might use, and there's a stereo ambience track that you might put in your stereo ambience files. So again, it all goes to ambience bus, and the channel strip without putting any effects in it is there, and you can send to one of these available aux tracks or effects tracks, and or you can add your own effects tracks like the way I showed you before. And if you check here in delay stereo, I have put mod delay. Of course you can change this to any delay you want. Reverb mono, I have put revive 2, and again you can put whatever you want there. And I'll just go ahead and copy the channel strip up here. I'd like to, or sometimes we might want to make some changes or put a compressor or a expander or make any changes, EQ, whatever, then the channel strip will do that on each effects as well. So it's good to have it there. And again, the delay stereo is here, reverb mono, which goes through mono reverb, and it is a stereo track. So I'll quickly check. AMB reverb mono is still mono here, so it will still act out as a mono track. But if you want to make it a stereo auxiliary, if you want to make it a mono auxiliary, you can just simply create new mono and aux input and call it AMBRVV mono 2, and just put that down there. It will make it a mono 1, put that there, and change mono to AMB verb mono. It should be from here, AMB verb mono. So go to bus and AMB verb mono, you can find it there, and you can make changes like that if you need to make changes, and I'll remove it from here so that we now have AMB reverb mono. And if we check around here, it still is in its place right here. So in my configuration, I put delay first, then reverb. It kind of makes sense to me, but you can just flip it around without having any problem. So this is the ambience folder. I'm just going to, I'll just put it into ambience bus. I see that there are some little issues as I go, but I'm correcting it as I go. And when you will download this project for you, it will just work fine. So this is Ambience, and if we check here, here's the Foley. And for example, if you want to have a recording session, you just go here and input your microphone input line from here, from wherever you are connecting your microphone to, and you just have all your inputs set according to however you need. So this is Foley mono, Foley stereo. Of course, you can duplicate it and send it to Foley mono and stereo 5.1, and all of this goes to Foley bus, and from there to Submaster. And if you check the sound effects folder, it's the same. Now the idea is same. You have one mono sound effects and one stereo, but it's still showing mono here. So I will create one here for you guys and call it SFX ST2, because it doesn't allow to change the name just yet. So I'll just do that and send this to SFX bus. Where are you? Here's the SFX bus, and change the color for you so that it's much more easier. Now you have SFX mono and SFX stereo. And again, the idea is same. Everything goes to its designated channel, and I will copy this channel strip here as well. Now the channel strip is in second input because you might add some effects or some plugins in the first input, and that will process through channel strip. So that's why it's in channel strip. That's why it is in input 2, but you can just move it to input 5 if you feel the need. So here in delay we have mod delay, and in reverb I have revive 2 plugin set, but you can change of course to whatever plugin you want. And I have put these plugins specifically available inbuilt with ProTools. Whatever plugin you find here is already available in ProTools, except for this WLM Meter and RX. But these are of course not going to affect your work, but here whatever you do will affect your work. So that is why all of the plugins you find are already in ProTools. This is useful particularly when you have to move between studios, and if there is no other no plugins that you like or you have put in your project, then it's going to be a problem. And if you just use the inbuilt plugins from ProTools, then it's not a problem anymore, because it just gets installed when we install ProTools. Here, for example, one more plugin, Pro Dynamics. This plugin may not be available in some versions of ProTools or some studios if they have not installed it. I'm not quite sure, but it's just here, and I'll just go ahead and put it in a factory default map. So this may not show up, but because that is what I have experienced, that in one studio it didn't show up, and it was still fine for me to keep on working there. And when I came back to where I work, it just was there and I didn't have to do anything. So I'll just bypass it for now. And actually we don't need this here in the sound effects folder. And if we go to sound design folder, and it's the same again, mono, stereo, and I'll put an instance of channel strip there. And again, revive and channel strip, deverb, and you can of course change to whatever you want. And mono, sound design delay mono, I will check this if we have, okay, here we have it, so I'll just put it there. So sound design delay stereo is here, and it's sent to sound design bus, which this track uses, and which is sent to Submaster. So if you see the color coding, all of the bus tracks has this color. which is useful while you are using the mixer, and you know immediately that all of your bus tracks are this color, and all of the color coded differently are of course different stems. So we have different colors for each of the dialogue, ambience, Foley, sound effects, so that it's easier to understand. And of course for this I will make a change. This was the last minute change, so there you go. Now you have a different color for music, and here is music 1 in a stereo, and sometimes you might have a mono music, then you just need a MX mono audio track. And I'm going to use the color palette to select that same color and call it MX mono. Just leave it like that, and MX music, and then leave it like that. I'm going to send no input and send it to MX bus. So from bus, MX bus. That's how you change the routing in your tracks. And if you see, there's only reverb set, and this reverb is not LR. I don't know why it all got so confusing. Maybe because I made this template out of my finished project, and while I was removing some tracks, I don't know what went on there, but anyways. So this is 5.1 reverb, and you can add stereo or mono reverb as you need. And if you are working in stereo project, then this will automatically translate into stereo. But nevertheless, I'll just go ahead and add a new aux input in stereo and call it MXRVB reverb stereo. So you see, it's quite easy to do that, and we don't need that. So I'll bring this down here, a reverb ST, and it's automatically set to reverb ST stereo, and send this to MX bus right here. Now we have reverb stereo, and if I just move it here, it will change it. Okay, it doesn't change, so I need to bring one reverb, and I'd like to bring the revive reverb. So there you go, revive 2, and bring it down to revive reverb insert for music. So you see, you have all the things that you need in this project, and to start using and importing your files and start working right away. So you have a MX folder here, and all of the things from here goes to MX bus, and then that goes to Submaster. Now finally we have print folder for all of the stems, and this is particularly useful if you do audio prints in ProTools. Then it just enable all of this for recording, and whenever you start recording, then what it does, it takes the signal from all of your tracks and starts recording here into new files, which you can then use to send to different requirements. And if you don't want to record the dialogue, you just record the remaining, and same for whatever your needs are. Right now here is the print for dialogue, ambience, Foley, and all these stems. And how this is set up is, whenever any signal goes from dialogue tracks to dialog bus, that can be recorded here because it is taking input from dialog bus, and similar to all of them. So this is what we have here. And finally, let me show you the marker track. And if you check here, the real start is happening at 59 minutes 30 seconds, and it can be all the way whenever you need, whatever is there, the logos, the intro, whatever. And there's the beep, or you can, maybe the beep could be here depending on your project, or could be here. You can simply move that, and the pictures start exactly when the picture starts from your edit video is kept here at 1 hour. And this is again because we might need some headroom here before the actual picture starts, and that's why it's exactly at 1. And this is helpful if you have multiple reels working. So the first reel starts at 1, the second reel starts at 2, which is not set here, but according to your need you can of course put your marker there. And in here you can see fin, where or finished, or the end, where the actual video ends, or let's call it the video or the film ends here. And here the credits start rolling, and this is the final beep of the entire film ending. So the beep, the start beep and the end beep are the actual length of the final delivered and published or released content. So after revising, as I went on explaining about this project, it was good because I could revise something and make it a properly working template. So you can download this from my website, and I'll put the link in the description. And finally, thank you for watching this video, and I really hope you enjoyed it and hope that you find this project, this template, helpful for you. And I'll see you in next video. Thank you very much for watching.